guys, so welcome to another lookbook video. So I wanted to tell you guys about my makeup look that I actually did yesterday, but that would have been the first look of this video, which it is. But I actually got sick last night. I think it was the food that I ate, and I just like threw up after I dropped off me and my friend back at my house because he usually like leaves his car here. And I just got sick as soon as I opened the car door, but at least I made it home and didn't get sick in my car, because if I got sick in my car, I would have been like so pissed. But we left like the movie theater because we saw Oppenheimer last night, which, by the way, fucking amazing movie. It was so good. I'm so glad I finally got to see it because I haven't been able to see it yet, and it was amazing. Oh my god, it was so good. I think it's worth paying the $18 to see that movie, but I forgot I had a Fandango gift card, but I left it at home, so I couldn't use it. So the next time we go to the movies, I'll just use it. So anyway, so I primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer. I just couldn't film the look last night. I did not feel well enough. And then for my lips, I just primed them with the Micolia lip oil, and then I set my eyes with my Urban Decay Stay Naked powder. Also, I just woke up like 10 minutes ago because I need to get ready for work around like 12:15, so I have like an hour. So that's why I look a little ragged, and my face is red from getting sick last night. So yeah, anyway, so I used two of my Nomad palettes yesterday. I used the Royal Europe palette and the Verona palette. So I used the Royal Europe palette all on the top lid, and then the Verona palette I used all on the lower lash line, and I really liked how it turned out. But I've been wanting to go back into this palette because this palette is just so freaking amazing. The way that the mattes are so pigmented and the shimmers are stunning. So I used this shade, this shade, this shade, and this shade. So I used Palace of Versailles for my crease. Then I darkened up the crease more with Hall of Mirrors. And then I used the shade Buckingham Palace on my outer corners because I really wanted to go in with the purple on the lid. So I used the shade St. Edward's Crown. So now I've finally used all of these shades twice, so that's a good sign. I'm always happy when I'm able to go back into a palette a lot more than I think I would. So I used that, and that's everything that I used from this palette. So I finally was able to go back into it again, so I was very happy about that. And then I just used Brighter Days from Blend Bunny on the brow bone, and then I went into the Verona palette, and I used just 3 shades on the bottom because originally I was going to use this shade in the crease because I wanted to do like a purple look, but the shirt that I was wearing had more blue in it than purple, so I ended up doing a blue purple look, and I loved how it turned out. And then for the lower lash line, I used Poison to smudge on the lower lash line, and then I used Moors in between the inner corner shade and the blue shade right here, and then I used Juliet as my inner corner highlight, and it was just so pretty. Juliet's such a gorgeous shade. That's actually my favorite shade in the palette besides this one. Like, this whole side is so beautiful. I could have honestly just done the gray blue look with this palette, but I really wanted to use the Royal Europe palette because I've already done that look twice in this palette. So that's everything that I used. And then for my waterline, I went in with a purple liner. I went in with the Colourpop cream gel liner in the shade Charmer. And then for my mascara, I used the Valentino mascara because I love that one. And then I just used a Lash Discovery on the bottom lashes. And then for my face, I primed with with my Do It spray, of course, and then I used the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, so I used that, obviously, because I always use that for, like, longer wear makeup days. Also, I had my appointment in the morning for the results for my patch test. That was like at 11 in the morning, and then I went and picked up food from IHOP, so I didn't have to make anything. So because I was hoping after I got home yesterday I was gonna have some downtime, But literally, I had to get ready like right after I got home because my friend was done earlier, a lot earlier than I thought. So I didn't really get much downtime yesterday, so I'm pretty tired. So I can't wait to be home tonight. And then for my foundation, I used the Glossier foundation. I really have been loving this one. And I think this is like the 5th time I've used it already. So I'm going into it a lot more than I thought. So this is the shade Very Light one. So I just used that. And then for my concealer, I used the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer in the shade 10NN, which is also a really good one. And then I set my under eyes with the Pat McGrath Labs powder. And then I set my face with the Urban Decay powder. And then for my bronzer, I went into my Gucci bronzer in the shade 01, which I love. And then for my blush, I really wanted to go into another one of my House Labs blushes, and I just really wanted to use Pomelo Peach again. These are still my favorite blushes of the year. I love them so much. So this has definitely been my go-to favorite blush. And then for my highlight, I went into the Noctilucent palette by Blend Bunny because whenever I need a colorful highlighter, I just go into this guy because I always know it's going to be beautiful. So I went into the shade Apparition because I wanted to use like a bluish highlighter, and it was so freaking beautiful and sparkly. I absolutely adore this palette. I use it so much because it's just the best. And then I don't have to like go digging for another highlighter when this is right next to me. So I've gotten a ton of use out of this palette. And then I set my face with the Milk Makeup Spray, and then I set my brows with the e.l.f. Wow Brow. And then for my lips, I wanted to go a bit bolder yesterday, but I kind of should have went with something a bit lighter on the lips because my eyes were so bold. But honestly, I think that it worked because I really liked the brownish lips with the eyes. So I went in with the shade Minuteman from Colourpop to line my lips because I wasn't sure what shade I was going to use. I probably should have went in with a different liner, but it's okay. And then I went in with the Cursed Cosmetics. This is not the right shade in the shade Elemental, and this one's a really pretty like kind of mustardy brown, so I used that. I didn't think it was going to be so dark though. I probably should have went into the orange shade over this one, but it still looks really pretty. I do want to use this shade like probably today or tomorrow. But fall is officially here. Today is fall, so happy fall. It is officially fall today. So I am whipping out the plaids, and I'm actually using my favorite, well, the most fall palette that I own. I will just show you guys later because I'm literally going to film that later. But I'm using another Nomad palette because I just wanted to get some use out of my Nomad palettes this weekend. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey there guys. I wanted to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. I actually got home from work around an hour ago. I just had dinner with my family, so now I'm finally home. So I prime my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer, and then I use the Amicole lip oil, of course. I don't know why there's like sauce everywhere. And then I set my eyes with the Urban Decay Stay Naked. Actually, no, I used the Dior powder today. And then for my eyeshadow, I wanted to go into another Nomad palette today because today is officially the first day of fall. It is fall now. It wasn't fall before. It was not fall till today. Okay? I'm not one of those bitches that's like, it's fall as soon as it's September. No. It's still summer until fall starts. Okay? So I had to whip out my most fall palette for fall, and that is the Nomad Hudson Valley palette, and I really just wanted to use it today. So I did use everything from this palette today. I didn't use any other palette because there's actually a brow bone highlight in this palette and all that good stuff. Hopefully it looks okay. I think it looks pretty still, and I really don't feel like blending it again because I literally just want to take off my makeup because I'm so tired and I just want to watch TV with my mom. So I went in with Fall Festival in the crease. Then I darkened up the crease more with Wine Harvest. And then I used Oktoberfest on the outer corners. And then for the lid, I used the shade Foliage Trail. It's such a beautiful shade. And then for my brow bone, I went in with Ghost Tour, which is actually a light enough brow bone highlight for me. So that's why this is a standalone palette for me, actually. But I like combining it with other Nomad palettes. I really love doing that. I just did that yesterday with the Royal Europe and the Verona palette. So I just really wanted to wear some of my Nomad palettes this weekend. And then for my lower lash line, I went into the shade Wine Harvest just to smudge that. And then for my inner corners, I used Leaf Peeping. So that's everything that I used from this palette today to match my plaid shirt. Because, of course, as soon as it's the first day of fall, I have to wear a flannel. I mean, duh. So I wore this like red and white flannel that I got last year from Lucky Brand, and it's kind of like a cropped one. And I wore it with like these ripped jeans. So if you guys want me to talk about my outfits in these videos, I can do that too. And then what I was going to say about this palette is that the formula is fantastic in this palette. I just wish that there was like one more shimmer in here, and maybe like these two shades were gone, and these were like, this was like a gray tone silver. Even this shade would be great to have in this palette, but I just don't really touch these two shades that much. Honestly, I would have been better off with this being a 12 pan, but the only reason why I really did pick up this palette was because it's a New York palette and I am a New Yorker, so that's why I had to own this palette. And then for my waterline, I used the Colourpop Cream Gel Liner in the shade Joyride. And then I used the Essence Lash Primer to prime my lashes as per usual. And then for my mascara, I decided to go into the Cali Ray Compellor High Water Mascara. I absolutely love this one, and I just didn't feel like digging for another one, so I just used this. And then I just used the Lash Discovery on the bottom lashes. And then for my face, I used the Do It Spray and the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. It hasn't really changed since I've had a couple of plans this week. I just used the same primer. And then for my foundation, I used the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation in the shade 050 Fair Cool because I wanted to use it with the Haus Labs concealer again. So I went in with the concealer in the shade 01 Fair Neutral. I love this concealer. It's so good. And then I set my under eyes with the Pat McGrath Labs powder, and then I set my face with the Urban Decay Stay Naked powder again. I mean, with the Dior powder, I keep on thinking I used the Stay Naked powder. I almost did, but I decided to use the Dior powder instead because I really like how it looks with the Haus Labs foundation, because this foundation is just so natural and beautiful on the skin, but it gives such a beautiful coverage. So yeah, anyway, and then for my bronzer, I use the Haus Labs bronzer in the shade Light Level 1. I use this at least twice a week. I love this bronzer so much. And then for my blush, this blush I always whip out as soon as fall starts. It's one of my favorite fall blushes. I just don't support this brand anymore, but I really love this blush. This was the last thing I ever bought from them, was two things from this collab. This is the Madison Miller collab blush in the shade All I Need Is Love. I love Madison Miller. I don't watch her as often as I used to, but honestly, this is like the most perfect ultimate fall blush color. It's just so beautiful. So I went into that today, and it's still a gorgeous blush. So yeah, I used that. It's just like the perfect terracotta orangey blush, but not being like too dark terracotta. It's just such a beautiful shade. And then for my highlight, I went into the Nomad and Cindy Bathers highlighter in the shade Balmoral Beach. I can never say that. But Nomad needs to come out with more highlighters. I say this every single time, but I wanted to use one of their highlighters since I used the palette. And then I set my face with the Milk Makeup Setting Spray. And then for my brows, I went in with the e.l.f. Wow Brow. And then for my lips, I went into my Blend Bunny liquid lipstick today because I love this lipstick so much. And I thought it would be such a pretty color with this shirt. Like, it literally went perfectly with my shirt. So I used the Blend Bunny Cosmetics lip liner. I think they're both in the same shade because it's a lip duo. So I used the lip liner and the lipstick in the shade Doll Face. And it's just such an amazingly comfortable formula. And it's just such a beautiful lipstick. So tomorrow I think I'm going to be using Colourpop. And I'm actually going to an escape room tomorrow. And I am beyond excited. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. So yeah, bye. Okay, so hey there guys, I want to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. So I actually went to an escape room with my friends today, and then we went out to eat, and the escape room was so much fun that me and my friends cannot wait to do it again, because actually me and my other two friends have never done it before. So I was like, we need to do an escape room, guys. And they were like all so like they were having so much fun too. So yeah, it was really great. So I primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer and used the Amicoli lip oil, and then I set my eyes with my Urban Decay Stay Naked powder. And then for my palette today, I wanted to use Colourpop. Like I said, I was going to use Colourpop today in the last look, and I wanted to use the Dreams Come True Snow White palette. So I used that guide because I wanted to wear my princess shirt today. So I went in with Someday in the crease, then I darkened up the crease more with In the Land. It's just so hard to read with this font. And then I used Far Away on the outer corners, and then I put the shade Charmed all over the lid because I really wanted to use this red shade again, because these two shades are literally the only two shades I haven't used again in this palette. So I wanted to use the red. So and then for the brow bone, I went in with What a Smile, and I'm glad it has a brow bone highlight in here. This is actually a standalone palette for me. And then I went in with the shade Someday on the lower lash line, and then I went in with Ever After on the inner corners, and then I went in with the shade True Love right in between the two, just to add a little bit of sparkle underneath. And that's everything that I used from the palette. So I'm glad that I dipped into Colourpop again today. And I also filmed a Get Ready With Me on this look, talking about Halloween releases and upcoming plans. And then for my waterline, I used, where is it? I'm just a little bit tired. I actually have to get up early tomorrow because I'm literally only going to Yom Kippur services in the morning, and then I'm just staying home for the rest of the day because I really need a down day tomorrow because I have some more plans coming up this week. And then for my liner, where is it? Oh my god, it's literally right here. I just used my Makeup by Mario liner in the shade Black, and then for my mascara, I used the NARS Climax mascara again. And then for my, and then I just used the Lash Discovery on the bottom lashes, and then I primed my face with my Forthright Do It spray, sorry. And then the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. And then for my foundation, I wanted to go into my Lancome Teint Idol Ultra Wear foundation again, so I used that today in the shade 120N. It's still like one of my all-time favorite foundations. And then for my concealer, I went in just with my tried and true, and that's the Tarte C Power Flex or Hydro Flex concealer, or whatever it's called, in the shade 8S Porcelain Sand. This is really hurting my back. And then I set my under eyes with the Pat McGrath Labs powder, and then I set my face with the Urban Decay Stay Naked powder again. And then for my bronzer, I used the Pat McGrath Labs bronzer in the shade Naked Desire. And then for my blush, I went in with the coinciding Snow White blush. I used the shade, the Colourpop Snow White blush in the shade Fair Enough. This is such a beautiful shade. It's like a really beautiful, like, vibrant orange red. It's so pretty. And then for my highlight, I just went back into the Blend Bunny Noctilucent palette, and I used the shade Dreamlike, which is this shade right here. So I just used that, and yeah. I just wanted to use that again because it was just a really pretty highlighter to go with the look. And then I set my face with the Milk Makeup Setting Spray, and then set my brows with the e.l.f. Wow Brow. And then for my lips, I used the Colourpop lip liner in the shade BFF2. And then for my lips, I used the Glossier liquid lipstick again. Or this is like the Lip Cloud, I believe, in the shade Curve. It's just such a comfortable, easy lipstick to wear, and I just really wanted to go into this one again. because I've only used it once before. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey, so I want to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. I'm a little bit formal again because today is Yom Kippur. So again, happy Yom Kippur for anyone who celebrates. It's not exactly the happiest day in Jewish holidays, but yeah, so we went to temple services this morning, and now I'm just going to be relaxing for the rest of the day. I'm pretty tired, so I do have some plans for the rest of the week, so I just want to relax today. It really is a horribly crappy day out. We've had like really crappy weather for the past like 3 days. So I decided to use a lot of Dior products today. I wanted to do almost a full face of Dior. So I primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer, and then I used the Amicole lip oil, of course, and then I set my eyes with the Dior Backstage powder, which is, of course, one of my all-time favorite powders. I love this thing. I love this powder. It's just really, really nice. I'm trying to use it up at some point, but I have some serious pan in it. And then for my eyes, I wanted to use my Dior Backstage Amber Neutrals palette. I love this palette, and I haven't used it in a hot second. I think the last time I used this was, I think, back in March. So I wanted to pull it out again. I try to use it at least a couple of times a year. So, and it's just such an easy palette to use. I was thinking about using my Natasha Denona Gold palette this morning, but this one is just so effortless and so easy to blend because the mattes are almost like cream to powder. They're just so creamy and so blendable. So I went in with this shade first in the crease. They do have names, but this one's called Ombre. And then I darken up the crease more with this shade in the middle, which is called Brick. So I darken it up in the crease there. And then on the outer corners, I use the dark brownish black shade, and that one is called Smoky Brown. And then for my lid, I went into the center shade, which is called Red Copper. It's such a pretty, like, very light reddish coppery shade. And then for my brow bone, I just went into the primer shade. It's just called Primer, and I like using that on my brow bone. And then for the inner corners, I used the center gold shade, which is just called Bronze, which is such a beautiful, like, inner corner highlight. And I just mixed in a tiny bit of this shade as well on the inner corners, which is called Orange. So I used like 6 of the shades, but I love this palette so much. This is such a good travel palette too. But, you know, I love my Dior products, so I used like all 3 of these today. So all my Backstage palettes, isn't that so aesthetically pleasing? And then for my waterline, I just used the Makeup by Mario liner in the shade Brown. And then for my mascara, I just went in with my Valentino mascara again because I love this guy and I like using it when I use more luxury stuff. And then I just used the Lash Discovery on the bottom lashes. And then I primed my face with the Do It spray and then my e.l.f. Power Grip primer. And then for my foundation, I wanted to go into my Dior foundation as well. So this is the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation in the shade 00. This is the 24-hour wear radiant foundation. Of course, I'm not keeping it on for 24 hours today. But it's a very pretty foundation. It's not my all-time favorite foundation, but I do really like the finish of it. So I like that foundation. I'm not in love with it, but it's a good foundation. And then for my concealer, I actually used my Pat McGrath Labs concealer. I think that this is pretty old at this point, so I don't know if I'm going to keep this. Also, there's not really much product left in here. I think it's pretty much completely dried out, so I think I'm just going to declutter it after this. Because it's not really performing as well as it used to, but I wanted to go into it to see if it would, you know, be okay, but it was kind of dry to blend out, so. And then I set my under eyes with my Pat McGrath Labs powder, and then again, I set my face with the Dior Backstage powder, and then for my bronzer, I went in with my Dior bronzer. I used the Dior bronzer in the shade Tan Bronze. I love this bronzer. It's really, really nice and blendable. I wanted to go into my Dior Backstage blush, but I kind of laid out 3 different blushes, but then I just decided to go into my Gucci blush because this is my favorite luxury blush that I own. I've used this a ton. This is probably my most used blush this year besides the Pomelo Peach and Hibiscus Haze from House Labs. They're just my most reached for blushes this whole year, and I just absolutely love this blush, so I just wanted to go back into that. And then for my highlight, I used one of my singular highlighters from Dior, and then I used one of the shades from the Backstage palette. So I used the Dior Nude Luminizer, so I used this guy in the shade, I don't think they have this one available anymore. Every time I use this, I always say that. But it's such a pretty, like, light highlighter. But I feel like my skin looked a little bit dry today, so it didn't really show up as well as I was hoping it to be showing up on my skin. But this one's in the shade 01, so it's just like the lightest shade, of course. And then I went in with the gold shade from this palette. I don't think this palette's available anymore either, but Dior just makes beautiful products. I love to use Dior whenever I can, and Dior is definitely my favorite luxury brand. But the Backstage line is their most affordable line, actually. Like, all of these Dior Backstage products are not really that expensive, but for some reason the blush is $40, but then like everything else you can get for like $45. Like, I believe this is like $45 and you get 4 products in here. So I thought that was a pretty good price. So this one is the shade Strobe, so I just went in with that gold over the luminizer, and then I set my face with the Milk setting spray, and then I just set my brows with my e.l.f. Wow Brow, of course. And then for my lips, where is my lipstick? There it is. I just used Minute Man by Colourpop because it's my favorite. And then I went in with my Dior lipstick. So this is the Dior lipstick, Rouge Dior lipstick in the shade 314 Grand Ball. And I love this formula. It's just such an easy, smooth, pigmented, comfortable formula, and I love this color. So I just wanted to go in with something a bit warmer today. And I'm wearing these Lucky brand earrings and also a Lucky dress. I kind of wear this every Yom Kippur, or I try to, like, every year, because it's such an easy, comfortable, nice dress. So yeah, that's it. Bye! Okay, so hey there guys, I want to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. I just went to my boyfriend's house today. I haven't been doing that well, like, mentally, so I'm not really like that great today. It's because not everybody's happy all the time, so yeah. So I primed my eyes with the Colourpop Party Proof Primer, and then I used the Amicole Lip Oil, and then I set my eyes with the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Powder. And then for my eyeshadow, I wanted to go into my Melt Cosmetics Rust palette, because I really do love this palette and I really do love using it in the fall time. I just feel like Melt's quality is not very consistent, but this is still the best palette that I own from Melt. And I try to use it at least once every fall. So I decided to use it today, and I still love this palette. I still love the quality of it. I feel like this is when Melt was on the top of their game. So I'm just trying to, like, shop my stash a lot more, rotate some of my fall palettes lately. So I went in with Antique first in the crease, then I darkened up the crease more with Rust. And then I used the shade Mar on the outer corners, but I wanted to deepen it up a bit more, so I did use the shade Rot, and I put that on my outer corners. The reason why I love this palette so much is that even though there's only 3 shimmers in this palette, the way that it's coordinated, like from light to dark with the mattes, and the shimmers just go so beautifully with the mattes in here. I never get bored of this palette because it's always such a beautiful look, and it's just such a reliable quality palette that if the looks are a bit repetitive, you can mix these 2 shades together with this shade, you can mix this shade, and this shade together, and then you can deepen it up with any of these. You can do the warmer tones, you can do the deeper tones, you can do like the cooler tones. It's just such a beautiful palette, so I really do love it. And then I popped on redox all over the lid, and I feel like the quality of these shimmers for Melt were just way creamier, and even though they're not like super blinding, they just go on so smoothly on the lids that it's just so pretty. And then I used the shade Classic on the brow bone. So this is a standalone palette for me since I have a brow bone highlight. It's so pigmented, but it works so well for my skin because it just blends right into my skin, but it still brightens up the brow bone really beautifully. And then for my inner corners, I used the shade Tarnish. So that's everything that I used from this palette today, and I loved how the look turned out. I'm just trying to rotate some brands that I like don't really reach for as often. Like, I wish I would use my Melt palettes more often. I just don't have any inspiration to reach for them. I have my brands that I love to reach for over Melt Cosmetics. And I also want to do a video where I talk about like my least reached for brands that I have the most eyeshadow palettes from. I thought that would be really fun. So I was like, Melt is definitely one of them. And then for my liner, I used the brown LA Girl liner as per usual. And then for my mascara, I just pulled out the first one that was on top, but I haven't used it in a little while. So I just primed with my Essence Lash Primer. And then I used my Wet n Wild's Big Papa mascara. And then for the bottom lashes, I used my Maybelline Lash Discovery. And then I primed my face with the Do It Spray and the Stay Star Glow Super Gel Primer. I wanted to go back into that primer since I haven't used it in a little while. And then for my face, I'm trying to shop my stash a bit more and use some other products. I mean, I love this product, but I don't think I've used it since the summertime, and I really do love this product, and it's like a year-round staple for me. So this is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Hydrator. I'm trying to use this up as well. In the shade 10 Ultra Fair, I just really need to rotate more of my face products too. And then for my concealer, I just went in with the Maybelline Dark Circle Eraser. I never have any problems using this concealer up because it's one of my most reached for products. And one of my most used up products ever. I've probably went through like 5 of these. It's just such an amazing, reliable, everyday concealer. So this one's in the shade 95, which is the latest shade. And then I set my under eyes with my Becca Hydro Mist powder, and then I set my face with my Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder. And then for my bronzer, I just went into my Colourpop matte bronzer in the shade Alviva Beach. Didn't really have to shop my stash too much for this one, but I hadn't used it in a couple of days, so I just wanted to go into that. It is my favorite bronzer still, so I like using it when I can. And then for my blush and highlight, I went into 2 more Melt products. I went into my Melt Cream Blush in the shade Lynx. Why can't I open this? I do use this quite a bit when I can, but I hadn't used it in a little while, and I love using it with the Rust palette. It's such a good tone to use with it. And then for my highlight, I went into my Stargazer highlighter, which is such a stunning, beautiful highlight. I don't know why I'm going like this when I don't have highlighter on. Because I wanted to get out of the house today earlier than usual. But this is such a pretty highlight, such a unique tone, and it just looks so gorgeous on the face. I love it. And then I set my face with the Do It Spray, and then I set my brows with the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel. And then for my lips, I used a little Melt sample lipstick in the shade Frisky. This is the Ultra Matte lipstick. I really, really like this color. I know it's so tiny, but I did get this as a sample with my points from Sephora, I think like almost a couple of years ago. But I decided to whip this out because I was using a bunch of Melt products, and I actually haven't used this in quite a while. And it's a really nice, very pigmented lipstick. And honestly, a sample size is all I would ever need. So it's a really good way, especially I would use your rewards and your points for skincare and for lipsticks, because lipsticks, like, honestly, I would never go through this whole thing. So it's a really good way of trying it without like spending the money, you know? So yeah, that's it. So tomorrow I'm going to a paint night, so that will be really fun. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, so hey there guys. I wanted to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. I actually just got back from a paint night, and it was really, really fun. So I wanted to do like a berry purpley look today. So I primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer. And then I used the Amicole lip oil, of course. And then I set my eyes with my Urban Decay Stay Naked powder. And then for my eyes, I went into a palette I haven't used in quite a while, but I love using this during the fall. So it literally says fall in the name, and that is the Alien Cosmetics, aka Unearthly Cosmetics Fall Magic Palette. It's probably like maybe the only time you're going to see this palette in these videos. I mean, I'm going to try and use it again, but I do have 2 new palettes coming, so I'm trying to dip into as many fall palettes as I can before they come. But I really wanted to use this one today, and I used a few shades from it. So I went in with Cozy first in the crease, then I darkened up the crease more with Bonfire, and then I used Snug on the outer corners, and then I used a little bit of Branch as well, just to deepen it up a bit more. And then for the lid, I used the shade Magic, which is such a beautiful, like, shifty, pinkish, purplish shade. So pretty. And that's everything that I used from this palette. I still think it looks pretty good. I didn't feel like going in and blending it again because it is late right now, but I still think it looks pretty. So that's everything I used from this palette. And then I did incorporate another palette on the lower lash line. So I just used Brighter Days by Blend Bunny on the brow bone. And then for the lower lash line, I wanted to go into my Colourpop or Kid You Not palette. And I did use a couple of shades from here. I was debating on whether or not I was going to use this palette today, but I was like, you know what? If I like try and incorporate it in some way, then I can get a little bit of use out of it. But I also want to use this palette at some point as well. So I went in with Oval Purple on the inner corners. And then I went in with the shade Pretty One right here on the like lower lash line part, like on the inner part. And then for the outer part, I used the shade Ada on my lower lash line. I think it turned out really, really pretty. So I really like how this look turned out, and I'm glad I got to use a little bit of this as well. And then for my waterline, I just went in with the shade Black from the Makeup by Mario liner that I love. And I just used my Essence Lash Primer. And then for the mascara, I just went into my Amicole mascara. I really love this mascara. It never transfers or anything, so it's just really, really good. And then I just went into my Lash Discovery by Maybelline on the bottom lashes. And then for my face, I primed my face with my Do It spray, and then of course my e.l.f. Power Grip primer. And then for my foundation, I swear I love this foundation. It still looks so pretty on the skin. Hopefully it's not like too bright. I mean, I feel like it's a little bright, but I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to make the light brighter so it's not like I look like an angel, but it's a little hard to adjust the brightness. Maybe if I do that. Is that a little better? Yeah, that's a little better. So then for my foundation, I went into my Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. Well, it's the HD Skin Undetectable Stay True foundation in the shade 1RO2, and I swear it just looks so beautiful on the skin. Because even though it's a little bit more of an undetectable coverage, no matter what you add on top of it, if you want to add more coverage in like your concealer, it's just such a beautiful base product. I absolutely love this foundation. But I was going to go into the coinciding concealer, but then I was like, I wanted a little bit more coverage. So I went into my Haus Labs concealer. So this is the Haus Labs concealer in the shade 01 Fair Neutral, and I swear this concealer is amazing. It just holds up underneath the eyes so well. It like barely creases, and it just meshed so beautifully with this foundation, and I hadn't worn them together yet, so I thought that was a really nice combo. And then I set my under eyes with the Pat McGrath Labs powder, and then I set my face with the Urban Decay Stay Naked powder again. And then for my bronzer, I went into the Haus Labs bronzer in the shade Light Level 1, so I just used that to bronze up my skin. And then for my blush, I went into one of my favorite blushes from Give Me Glow. So this is the Give Me Glow Matte Powder Blush in the shade Dear Diary. I absolutely love the Give Me Glow blushes, and this is just such a pretty like pinky purpley shade, and it goes perfectly with this look. And then for my highlight, I went into the Or Kid You Not highlighter from the Soul Body line, and this is the shade Wild Orchid. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. I just want to take my makeup off and go to sleep. But it's just a really, really pretty, like, lilac-y, pinky gold. Really pretty color. And then I just set my face with my Milk Makeup setting spray, and then I set my brows with my e.l.f. Wow Brow. And then for my lips, I went into the Colourpop Oh Snap lip liner, and then for my lipstick, I went into one of my Ofra liquid lipsticks. This is a pretty old one. So this is the Ofra Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick in the shade Oh My Rai Rai, and this is the Madison Miller collab, and it's just such a pretty, like, pinky purpley shade. I was like, you know what? I want to use this one because I haven't used it in quite a long time. And even though I don't buy from Ofra anymore, I still enjoy the products that I have from them, even though I don't really support the brand, but the liquid lipsticks are really good. So yeah, tomorrow I should be going to a place called Witch's Brew with one of my other friends. So I'm going to do like kind of a Hocus Pocus kind of look tomorrow with the Colourpop Hocus Pocus 2 palette, most likely. So yeah, I'm just trying to like pull out some fall palettes and use a lot of the palettes that I have for the fall. And it really had, my favorite time for makeup is fall makeup. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey there guys. So I want to tell you guys about my makeup look for today. I'm just going to my boyfriend's house. My plans kind of changed a little bit. I know that I said I was going to wear like my Hocus Pocus palette from Colourpop, but I ended up wearing another Colourpop palette that I wanted to wear later this week anyway, because my friend ended up not feeling well this morning. So he just told me that if we could just reschedule. I'm like, okay, it's fine. So I did like kind of a grungy fall look, and honestly, like, fall looks are just my favorite, and I did like this burnt orangey kind of lip. So I primed my eyes with the Colourpop Party Proof Primer, and then I just used the Amicole lip oil, and then I set my eyes with my Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder. And then for my eyes today, I went into my Colourpop Plush Like Me palettes because I just felt like using this. I'm trying to work through some of my other more fall-y tone palettes before I get my newer palettes that I ordered. I ordered 2 other palettes last week, so those are currently in the mail. So I used Ironic in the crease, then I darkened up the crease more with flannel. Originally, I wanted to use velour, but it wasn't quite dark enough, so I used flannel to deepen it up. And then for the outer corners, I used the shade Girl Band. It's such a hard font to read. And then for the lid, I used the Rose Gold Shimmer, which is called Throwback. The only thing that I wish that was in this palette was kind of more so like a goldy tone shimmer, but y'all know I always need a gold tone with everything. But this is a standalone palette for me because I did use Runway on the brow bone, and then for the inner corners I went in with Video Night. So that's everything that I used from the palette, and that's all I used, and it turned out really pretty. Kind of did a cool tone warm crease, and I really think it played off the rose gold really well. And this is a pretty neutral shade, so it's not like I needed a gold. So, and then for my liner, I just used my LA Girl liner in brown. What else is new? And then I just used the Essence Volume Booster Lash Primer. And then for my mascara, I actually forgot that I bought this mascara a couple weeks ago because the makeup that I've bought like the past month or so, like, is just sitting in my Sephora bag waiting to be hauled after I get the other 2 eyeshadow palettes that I ordered. So I went in with my Lancome Hypnose mascara today, and it's not a bad like everyday mascara. I'm not sure if I'm like in love with it. It's good, but I'm not like, oh my god, like you need to run out and buy this, but it's a nice mascara. And then I just used the Lash Discovery on the bottom lashes. And then for my face, I just primed with the Do It spray, and then I used the Say Star Glow Super Gel Primer. And then for my tinted moisturizer, I wanted to go into the Cali Ray Free Dreaming Skin Wellness Diffusing Tint. And I used the shade number 1. And it's such a beautiful tinted moisturizer. And then for my concealer, I went in with the Makeup Forever HD Skin Concealer in the shade 1.1N, which is just such a good concealer. And then I just set my face with the Colourpop Pretty Fresh powder, and then I set my under eyes with the Becca Hydra Mist powder. And then for my bronzer, where is it? Where did I just put it? It's literally right next to me. Just put it behind the blush that I used. So I went in with my Colourpop bronze stick today in the shade Laguna Beach because I hadn't used it in a little while. And I wanted to use it with one of the stick blushes from Colourpop. So I went into the Plush Like Me blush stick today to go with the palette. And this one's in the shade Mall Rat. And it's just a really, really pretty shade. And then I set my face with the Do It spray again. And then I set my brows with the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel. And then for my lips, I used the Colourpop Luxe lipstick in the shade Moana, which is like a really, really pretty warm tone nude shade. So yeah, that's it. And I think it turned out really pretty. So yeah, bye.